Welcome to the call, everybody. Today, talking about Sam, we're going to talk about some public forms, some things that you can do, some things that I've seen clients really push the system and kind of get creative with how they're organizing and using public forms to coordinate with their clients. So, welcome into the call. Let's get this going. Okay, so again, today we're going to hit 4 main points. There is a new feature that's going to be released this evening to most clients. It's visibility for public checklists. So once you've allowed clients to see some information, you can actually have some control over whether or not they can continue to see that information. I think it's a really great benefit so that your checklist can all roll out at one time, but then you can really target things that the client has not completed, right? So that you can hide the things that they have. And it'll also prevent them from making any modifications if that portion is complete. Let's see. I'm going to mute everybody for a few minutes. Is now muted. All right. And then public forms we'll talk about public forms with a sidebar. So kind of having an actual client portal instead of having separate forms that you provide links to. The family or the client may log into a single spot and have sidebar link or sidebar that allows lots of different links to all of those different forms. So a link to the checklist, a link to the application form. We can see, I'm going to show kind of my internal form, and then we'll talk about how other agencies are doing that as well. There are some cool public forms setups that provide details about other entity types. So this is a situation where a family logs in and talks about children in their care or uploads documents to them, things like that. So I'll show you a couple of examples of how agencies are implementing that. And then we'll talk to styling. So some ways that you can improve the styling. I'm going to show off a client site that I always refer to because I think they did a really excellent job with their branding and messaging all together. So let's get into that. All right, so visibility for public checklists. So this is a new feature. Like I said, this is rolling out, should be rolled out to everybody tonight. A couple agencies got it last week, but it's coming out today. There is a help guide. I'm not going to look at it now, but let's get in and look at what this actually looks like in the site. So on checklists, where the checklist item is shown to clients so that you have the ability to offer a document for downloading, and the family, once they've downloaded that document, signed it, completed it, they can upload it to you. That's what the public checklists allow for. It's kind of a sharing of documents and a central repository where you can coordinate with the family. When a section is complete, right? So this one's not done. Let's say that this is now finally done. I've completed this section. I can actually prevent them from seeing it by clicking this. The icon changes, and on the family's public checklist, they are no longer have access to that particular section. If later you decided you wanted to re-show that again, you can always open that back up. Okay, so just a couple little clicks there to open and close, and the visibility lets you know whether or not they can actually see that, or see that checklist section. So when I say visibility, the eye icon, right, being open or being closed. It's a very easy, it's a new functionality, but I've heard it being requested a couple of times, and I'm actually really excited to have that be rolled out to you. So I hope that you like that. Let's go back here. I don't know how to do this. My hotkeys, so we'll just go the old-fashioned way. The other thing that I want to talk about, I guess the next piece, is public forms that have a sidebar. So one that I'm really familiar with is the client portal for SAM. So when you want to interact with us or you're providing us data migration pieces and things like that, our public form has a sidebar. So we've got we're centralizing you into remembering a single link to log into. And then there's information on my sidebar that you could fill out the new client info and tell me about your goals and who is working with your organization, things like that. You might update your organization information. FYI, there was an email that went out a while back. We had updated our terms of service and privacy policy. You can sign that if you'd like. If there's any accounting that we're creating or logging any time, that is stored here in accounting, so you'd be able to see that. These are things though, like if you think about this for a family, you could have the family log in. It could show their current caseworker. It could show any information about their other caseworkers that have worked with them, what stage of the process. You can kind of show things to the family here, and then have links that you can continue to direct the family to complete information for you. So really anything, almost anything that's inside of the system can be shared. And of course, if it is shared, it's not that you have to share all of it. You share what you want to see or what you want to show. Okay. All of these though are like working links, so you can get in here. So I think support tickets is actually going to take me into my Zendesk account. So this is like, this is exiting SAM system and going into a different site. But data migrations, if I log in here, I can have, it's just a link to other public forms, okay, that you can share. So I think that is this. Let's get back here. Okay, and so really what you're doing here is this sidebar. When you are on a public form, under, I'm pretty sure it's advanced options, really advanced options, there is a configuration that allows a sidebar for public forms. I have noticed on every client site, it's not necessarily visible. So if it is something that you want to entertain, you want to think about creating for yourself or for your team, and you're not able to see that option, send us an email and I'll get you connected to where you need to be. But it's a pretty easy thing, and then it works just like the sidebar manager does for other for other internal forms in how you set that up. So we'll talk about now some other creative public form setups. What I think is creative about this is, and this seems really, I guess, typical. Of course, families that have placements and adoptions will need to share documentation about that child that is now in their care. Of course. However, in the database, it's a little bit unique because those record types are really separated. So it's an interesting setup, but it has been done. So Amara has done this with foster care placements when they need to share documents with their when their family, once a placement has been made and a family needs to share documents about the youth that's in their care. This is the impetus for this setup. Let's take a look at it in real life. The other thing that they've done is connected the family checklist to it. So this is what I was talking about. This is how they've got their site set up. It matches their website. It kind of maintains their branding. When you log in, you'll see the family can see their name. If there was a specialist that was working with them and it was linked, you would see that person's name as well here. But then they have an integration where they've got the sidebar links. So this is connecting them to a checklist. Let me actually get rid of that. This is their foster family checklist. So slightly different look. It's the kind of generic SAM template look. They've got messaging. What I like about their messaging is they've added bold and they've added red, which I've seen that be done a few times. And it's really what exactly highlighting in red and bolding is supposed to do, is to really make things eye-catching. And it's important to make sure that families read the most important information, right? So getting that up in the front for them will be helpful. Because I've talked about a checklist and not everyone on the call may be familiar, this is a great example of a checklist. So for the home study, all of these different documents that they need to to collect about the family to complete the home study, they can be provided with a document for download. So this is Amara's document. It's a Word document that downloads here so the family can retrieve it. They can complete it, save it locally on their computer, and then come back here and upload the document. This document then will go right into that internal checklist. It also goes right into the documents section so that it's stored in 2 different places in your system. And then this is going back to the very first thing, right? So I'm going to pull whatever document that I want here and pop that in. This gets done as it shows the family that upload is complete. Okay, so just the icons are changing. Let's see. The other thing that Amara has set up here is for documents to be uploaded underneath the child. And if I go into, they've got it in 2 separate spots. I believe it's taking you to essentially the same thing. This upload documents for a child in placement is going to take the family direct to a list of all the placements in their care. And then they've actually provided icons, right, for the family in their messaging so they know exactly where to click in the system. If I click here on the Stephanie test record, I see more information about this placement and then documents. So I can go in here and offer a date, right? Today's dates. What type of document am I providing, or write other in here, and then upload a document to them. I'm going to stick that in here as well. Now this document, they've got a list. The family is not able to pull down that document again, but they have uploaded it to Amara. Here in Amara's site, under the child, in their placements and monitoring section, on their placement detail, there is a list of documents, and this is what I just uploaded here. It's right in here. Right, so this little item here. And then on the family side, they can see the placements and the specific placement, the details, all the details of this very specific placement. That document is shared here as well. So they can see the document from both sides, from the family and from the youth side. Okay. All right. Let me jump back out of here. I think this is an excellent setup. It was an interesting setup to do. It took us a little while to really get the placement documents coordinated well, but once we did, I think this is super helpful for the agency. All God's Children also has a setup where families who have adopted children and they have to complete the post-adoption report. The post-adoption reports are now done online. So instead of getting emails of reports and that kind of stuff, the agency can constantly direct the family to a public form where they fill everything out. I feel like this was set up maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point. Time goes by really quickly in hindsight. So I feel like it's been a little bit of time. I did get some feedback from David that really worked with me in setting this up. I kind of did some parts of it, and then the rest of it he really extrapolated and made it work well for AGC. He said that yes, families are loving it. No one would go back to the old way of getting things done. I had not actually realized how intense the public or the post-adoption reports are for you guys. So I thought that was really interesting. So here, this is how they're directing. I think I got this correct. There's a lot of different forms that they've got set up, but it takes, we're connecting into a public form. It's got messaging of how to complete the form. And then these are all the different post-adoption reports that are needing to be completed for this child. To complete the form, they're going to click edit here. And then they've got kind of a series of different forms because that post-adoption report is so lengthy. It felt a lot like an application form to me. But because of all the narrative that is needed, they broke it up into different spots or different forms so that the family can complete certain sections at a time and can come back to it without losing information. Okay. As I move through this, I'm now taking this, the public forms can redirect users to a secondary or tertiary form. Okay, so you can keep kind of moving through. This is a real fun one. I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I really liked once they knew how they wanted to organize it, they did little details always kind of help. And so putting in the next section, what people can expect coming forward or coming up, I think was a really great way of putting in the styling. And I'll mention that again. Let me unmute you guys and see if you have any questions or any thoughts. All right, so everybody's unmuted at the moment. Does anybody have any thoughts or ideas or anything that you want to share about what we've talked about so far? Is Steve out there?
Heather, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hey, Heather.
Okay. Just a question about how do they do like the signatures for that? Is electronic signature for the post-adoption reports?
I didn't get all the way out through this. I mean, we could kind of go and see. My assumption is what I've seen people do for electronic signatures is really a text box and a date, and then your legalese that needs to be there that says this is by typing in your name here, this is your signature, that kind of a thing. Let's see if he's gonna make me put in right something for all of this stuff. Hello. I'll have to do that for each of these. Yeah, so I don't actually know. I don't know if David, if you're actually on, there is a David on the call. I don't know if it is David or not who put this together. Hey, how are you guys handling? Right, okay. And I've seen other agencies that put documents online, like they will put the entire text of the document that needs to be signed into the header of the public form. Or yeah, and maybe not the header, it's probably in that right here. Right? This is a body part where you can put messaging. They'll put the entire thing, and the public form only has text box fields for signatures. So I would I think signatures are a strange thing because I think that it's a gray area and it varies potentially per state. So checking in with your attorney to find out what is appropriate or not as far as signatures go. And I think it'll vary depending on the different documents. I don't think that you would probably have a parental rights termination document on here. That probably needs to be blue ink, right? Something like that.
Right.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thanks, you guys, for that. Any other questions on this? Yeah, you're welcome. I know, Heather, you're doing a lot with public forms right now. So hopefully these two ways have been kind of exciting for you to see. There's a lot going on.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So this is another one. So talking about styling, right? And styling public forms with templates is a really great way to go. I love MLJ's checklist. I feel like it's very on brand all the way through their checklist. And it's, they've got their colorful logo, certainly, but they have taken different icons and color coordinated that and put messaging in with the checklist sections to integrate it. I loved when I pulled this up. I'm like, this is really pretty. If I go click in here and look at their checklist, it feels the same all the way through. they did some things and I figured out how she did this yesterday, but these icons are all links to documents that the family can download, right? And complete or get more information. These checklist sections, though, I'll show you how this functions, but you can append a template so that you can kind of use the power of templates and not certainly have to do a bunch of HTML to it, but you can incorporate icons and images and things that will help with your messaging to the clients. Okay, and so I really like this. I feel like as this checklist develops for the family, as they get these things done, new checklist sections kind of start to populate. And of course, that new functionality, it doesn't show on the public checklist portion, but it shows on the client record here that the eyes, and they can show our and remove visibility to each of these checklist sections after they're all complete. Okay. Let's see, get back here. So making sure that you understand the public form header footer. So I think I've only shown really 2 templates that we have, which are the gray background with the paper, that look, and then there is a kind of a basic plain white template. Amara has the gray header at the top. They had their website person incorporate that header on. That is something that you can certainly do, is find a web designer to play with the header and footer styling. So it is, how does this look and how does it mirror, how do your public forms look with your website, right? Because you do want them to have some consistency. I do want you all to know we are planning kind of an upgrade, like a facelift to SAM, to make public forms mobile friendly, but it will actually make the entire site mobile friendly. It's not something that we can, it's not something that we can just cut off and make only for public forms. So it will be the entire site. So it'll be a little bit of a shift. The general layout and things of the system will remain as is, but that you should see, we're hoping kind of end of the summer for that. It's a big project, but you'll see some things happen there, and that will change a little bit the way that the public forms layout will be, but it will be an improvement, and the improvement will be to like move boxes and fields so that they become mobile friendly, because there are a lot of families actually and people that complete these forms through their tablets and their gadgets. So I do think it's important to add messaging. I've seen a lot of different styles of checklists. You're going to know your family's culture better than we will, but I think adding messaging to the top, potentially coming up with an icon set that works well to kind of navigate people through what stage of the process, especially for forms that have multiple steps. I think that's really helpful to communicate. Okay. Using templates, we talked about for checklist section headers. I just wanted to point out exactly where that is. So once you're in, this is the checklist configuration. Once you've created your checklist, each checklist section has the little gear shift icon. You can come into this, and where there is client settings, you can actually append a template. So you could write just messaging in here, or you can connect to templates that are based on this entity type. So if this is a family checklist, you'd want to make family checklists and have those templates laid out, named in a way and organized in a way that you can find them to be pulled onto the different checklist sections. Okay, that's how you do that. And then I am pointing out this little, going to the next section. In our application template that we provide to new clients. If it is a multi-step, there is these little icons that are here that kind of are guiding you through. When you're on page 2, the little house icon turns orange, whatever, right? So we kind of walk them through. I liked this in AGC site having just, hey, the next section is going to be. Then I believe you can potentially put templates down there as well. You can probably play with the HTML if you wanted a little pizzazz to it as well. And then I talked about consider linking your images, right? That MLJ adoptions, how they've linking out to things. I will show you how that is done. Let me jump back over here. And if I go into a template, template designer, come on, Sam, let's go here. And if I add an image into this template, right, so you could come up with a whole bunch of buttons, right, things like that you want so that the image looks really crisp and clear, like a pretty button, whatever. If I insert an image, let me stick something in here. And what you'll do is really just, I believe it's a double click. Go to my demo. Let's put in that wish list that you guys have probably seen. Okay, so right here on this image, I can double click it, and then there's an option to link. And you can put in your URL. So an easy way to link off images, which again can be used like for buttons, is like click this form here in your templates. Just instead of having it's the really like the long SAM URL in there, you can do that. Let's see. I think that's what I've got for you today. Our upcoming webinars are we're going to start to talk about reports. So save the dates for May 17th, May 19th. I'll send an email reminder, and you can always find that information on inreachsolutions.com/webinars or /events. Webinars are going to be for like our recordings of it. The events will be for upcoming things that are happening. Does anyone have any questions or any last minute thoughts about public forums that you want to talk about? Okay, well then I'm going to let that go. Thank you so much for joining me today. And like I said, I'll send an email that has all this information, and I look forward to seeing you and talking to you May 17th, if not before. Take care. You're welcome. Bye, guys.